So this is a review for solving linear equations. We were going to go ahead and start with this is we have an equation we know it has there because it's an equal sign. So what we're going to go ahead and do is imagine there's this imaginary line here, and we are going to add 1 to both sides of the equation to keep that equal on both sides. Then we are left with 4x is equal to 15. And then the last step is we divide by whatever the coefficient or the number in front of the variable is. In this case, it's 4. So we're going to divide both sides by 4. And we're going to leave our answer as an improper fraction as 15 over 4. Now, this fraction doesn't reduce. Both of those numbers have nothing in common. So we just leave that as 15 over 4. So this one looks a little bit different, but we do it the same way. Do know that at any time, if you really want, you can just rewrite this equation as negative 7x minus 9 is equal to 7. But I'm not going to do it this way. I'm going to start this question the way it's written. And again, there's that idea that the equation has to be the same on both sides. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did on last time. I'm just going to do it in opposite order. I have a negative 9 here. I want to move that over to the other side. In essence, I do that by adding 9 to both sides. But again, if you just think of that negative 9 moving over and adding this, then what you are left with is 16 is equal to negative 7x. And the coefficient of the variable is just on the right hand side, but that doesn't change anything. That negative 7 is what I divide both sides by. And then I'm left with the answer that 16 over a negative 7 is equal to x. I can write it this way, or an equivalent fraction would just be able to say that pull the negative out front, and that's 16 over 7. Both answers are correct. All right, this equation is a little bit longer than the first, but we're going to do it the same way. We just have a couple of steps. The first thing we're going to do is, because we have a grouping symbol of parentheses with a 7 out front, that negative 7 means I need to multiply it to both sides, to both terms on the inside of that grouping symbol. So that's the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do. And when I multiply that out, I am left with negative 7 times a negative 9, and that will give me a positive 63x. Again, I multiplied there. Then the next term is going to be, and remember, you're multiplying by a negative 7, so it's going to be a negative 7 times a negative 4. That gives me a positive 28, and everything else over on the other side, I just bring down. That's negative 2x plus 7. Now, for this case, what I want to go ahead and do is, again, think about this as both sides of the equation, and I want to take this negative 2x and move it over to this side. I do that by adding 2x. That cancels, so this is plus 2x. Now, that leaves me with 65x. I bring down the 28, and that's equal to a 7. Hopefully, your just idea of moving that over, really what we're doing here is we're minus 28 and minus 28 on both sides, and that leaves me with 65x is equal to negative 21. I divide both sides by 65. And finally, we have our solution for x, and x is equal to negative 21 over 65. So the next equation we're going to look at has fractions in them. The way I like to do these the best is to clear the fractions or get rid of the fractions. So I'm looking at my denominators now. I have my denominator of 2 and 4. I know that my common denominator between all of those is 4. So what I do with these kind of questions is I take the common denominator, which in this case is 4. I place that 4 over 1, and you multiply times each and every term. So if you want to think about that as taking that and on the outside of this put a 4 over 1 times both of them. Now the reason I do that is so that when I distribute, and after I'm done distributing, I'm all done with fractions. So what I'm left with is 4 over 1 times x over 2 plus 4 over 1 times x, and I can put that one over there. It's not necessary for this particular one because it doesn't have a fraction. And then finally 3/4 times that 4 over 1. Now, when reducing these, what happens is I know that 2 divides evenly into 4 2 times. So that leaves me with a 2x. Over here, this is just 4 times x, because when you multiply fractions, you multiply numerator and denominators together. So that just leaves me with plus 4x. And with the last one, those 4's divide into each other and equal 1. So on the right side, I have is equal to 3. Now I just add the left side together, and I'm left with 6x is equal to 3. Divide both sides by 6. My answer here is x is equal to 3 over 6. Now you must reduce this, and your final answer here is x is equal to 1/2. All right, one more with fractions. Let's go ahead and take a look at all of our denominators. The largest denominator that I have here is 24. And what I'm looking for is 24 going to be a common denominator. So I ask myself, can I divide 24 by 8? And is it a whole number? Yes, I can. That's 3. So that works. And that also tells me that 3 times 8, well, that's convenient. That's 24. So that tells me I know that 24 is my lowest common denominator here. So what I want to do is the same idea. I want to take that common denominator, which was 24, and multiply each and every term by 1 over 24. I can do that because of the fact that I am not changing anything. I'm just multiplying each and every term. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I can say that I know 3 divides evenly into 24 8 times. 8 divides evenly into 24 3 times. And over here, those 24s completely cancel out. So what does that leave me left with? That leaves me left with 8 times negative 7x is equal to 3 times negative 9x plus 5. And ideally, that's, you should know that 24 divided by 24 is 1, but you don't have to write that. All right, so now I go through and multiply each of the pieces. I'm just multiplying this together, and that will leave me with negative 7x times 8 is equal to a negative 56x, and 3 times a negative 9 is a negative 27x plus 5. I want to go ahead and add 27x to both sides. And again, really, we're just taking that and moving that 27 over. Negative 56 plus 27x leaves a negative 29x equal to 5. And then the last piece is just to divide by the coefficient. So now I'm left with x is equal to negative 5 over 29. I can tell you and guarantee you that fraction questions will be on all of your exams. So make sure you don't ignore these. They are very important. Good luck. Hope everything is going well with the review.